So welcome to this little short video where I'm going to talk about one of the PlayStation VR2 games that I've played. I was a big fan of PlayStation's VR1, and so when they announced the VR2 I was very excited, and even though the price tag was pretty hefty, I ended up caving in and getting it on day one launch. Now for the majority of the time that I've had it, it's sat in a box under the TV whilst I watched movies and television and listen to music and surf the internet, because I didn't think, and I still don't to a certain extent, that there are those amazing VR2 titles. I remember when I had the first VR, the very first virtual reality experience I had was the Shark Tank one, and I remember I was sweating because it was just the weirdest sensation ever, being able to look around whilst I'm sitting in the living room, knowing I'm sitting in the living room, and yet kind of being a bit nervous that these sharks were coming to get me. Since then I played things like the Star Wars Squadrons, there was the Iron Man game, which were all like, wow, this VR is amazing, which those games are part of the reason that I decided to pick up VR2. For me, VR2 hasn't yet produced any of those titles, and maybe there are some out there. I've heard a lot about Horizon VR, but do I really want to pay that amount of money for such a short experience? I don't know. I don't have enough funds to be able to buy every single VR2 title that comes out, so some of the ones that I've played, you may have played, you may not like. There may be some that I haven't played that are absolutely amazing. In which case, if there are any VR titles that you think this is a must-have, this is the reason to go out and buy the headset and with these wonderful controllers, which are pretty cool actually, because I do quite like those, then do let me know in the comments below. But I thought, well, I've got a few VR titles on my system that I haven't played, so I'm making a conscious effort to just go through some of these titles, play them, experience them, and make a short little video on my first impressions. What you're going to see is some gameplay from my very first, or at least one or two playthroughs of these games. So these are not games that I've played for hours and hours and hours and have become perfect. These are first glimpses at the games, so don't ridicule the gameplay. So the first one I'm going to talk about on here is The Seventh Guest, which I didn't even know was a remake of an original game that came out in the 90s. Didn't even know there was one in the 90s, but it did remind me, this new one, it did remind me of games like Myst and Riven and a lot of these sort of puzzle box games where you must unlock things and find clues and all that sort of stuff. So I'm going to show you a bit of gameplay whilst I talk you through my first experience of The Seventh Guest. So firstly, the VR of this, and obviously you're watching the gameplay on a 2D screen, so you're not going to get the full immersion. But you use these controllers, so these mighty things, and if you sort of raise your hands, there you go, you raise your hands up, that is what you look at on the screen. It's a standard trigger to point to various menus as you try and work out what the hell to do. And obviously with VR you just got to have a bit of a look around in your living room and see what the hell's going on. It is quite nice that it allows you to choose your dominant hand. I am right-handed when I write, but if I'm firing guns or punching people, or obviously in VR, then I am sort of left-handed, so not fully ambidextrous. But so on this opening scene, you're sailing across a river. I'm just going to call it a river Styx because it kind of has that look about it, and you have to grab an oar. Now on the inside of the controller, this is the same sort of controller as a lot of the games. You've got the little thing, so you grab and then you can do the oar. It took me a little bit of getting used to, because I was kind of looking for a second oar, but I kind of realised that there was just one. If you drop your oar, it does pop up, which is handy. It's not a diving game, is it really? The motion feels pretty good. And the good thing about VR, pretty much any VR, is good exercise. You can be sitting on the couch, but you can be, you know, rowing a boat or having a boxing match if you play Creed. But I'm going to do another video on Creed Rise to Glory at some point. You pull into this thing. This video is not going to be a complete walkthrough. Trust me. I got stuck very early on.
But I don't remember myself.
Only a few minutes from now, to be fair.
This place does that to you.
So you look around and you think, well,
maybe we can help each other.
A lot of these VR games, it's about working out what you physically have to do, as in like you playing it. Do you stand up? How do you walk? You know, that sort of thing. And so it always takes me a little while to settle in, which I think is why I preferred the Shark Tank type experiences, because you just literally stand there and look around and, you know, all that type of stuff. Obviously, the more I play VR games, and certainly the more I play this one, the more I get used to it. So with this one, there was sort of a couple of ways to do it. You could somehow point your stick, and it would put this little circle in there, and then you would click, boink, you click your button, and you would disappear to that point. It took me a little while to realise that was happening. I think with VR, you just press loads of buttons and hope for the best.
Your lantern?
This game wasn't very good at actually telling you what the controls were. I'm sure there is some sort of thing in there somewhere that would educate you, but I always tend to stupidly just rush into the game and just let me play it. I don't want to learn, I just want to play the game. Which I know is kind of stupid, but you know, I'm a male, I don't read instruction manuals. So I got sort of stuck in this boathouse for a while. I'm looking around, I'm like, not quite sure what I'm supposed to do. Again, probably my fault. With these sort of puzzly type, stuck in a mansion sort of games, these aren't generally my wheelhouse. So do cut me a bit of slack if it makes it look like I haven't got a clue what I'm doing. To be fair, I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I did manage to pick this lantern up, and that seems to be a tool that you use in the game where you shine it on broken things and it kind of fixes them, like it's just done with the planks a few seconds ago. See, again, you shine it on that, it fixes things. I am suspecting this lamp will become very helpful should I get further in the game. Now with these controls, and this is not just for the seventh guest, but this is something that I've not got used to, and I don't know if I'm a fan of it. Not to denigrate the style of it, but it's where you've got to push your thing forward to move, and you sort of jump forward in increments, and if you press your 9 o'clock button, so to speak, or swipe it left, then you sort of you jump. I'm not quite used to that level of playability. I'm more a fan of the standard controls where you push forward and you walk smoothly, but maybe that's something that this VR hasn't got yet. And here's the bit I got stuck at. I told you I didn't last very long. I got stuck at this gate. Yes, I could grab it, and you know, but the gate was locked. I kind of got a bit lost. So I don't really get too much past this, unfortunately. So I'm now going to talk about what it's like to play this game in VR. It is pretty cool, to be honest. The sound design's pretty good. The immersiveness is pretty good. Yes, it does look kind of cartoony. I suspect a lot of that is because obviously it's a video game, but it is a remake of the 90s one. So for the 90s fans, you're going to want to keep the feeling of the original Trilobite one. But I think Vertigo have done a wonderful job of bringing a classic game like The Seventh Guest forward into the 21st century, and it felt pretty good. I didn't feel any motion sickness or anything in this one, but obviously you look at the length of my playthrough, it's about 6 minutes, so it usually takes more than 6 minutes on any VR thing to feel a little bit queasy if you do. I don't know if anybody's noticed it on VR2 compared to VR1, but VR1 you would kind of feel queasy whilst you're playing the game, and then that's when you knew to take the helmet off and, you know, have a rest. With VR2 I tend to notice it a little bit more when I take the headset off, and then when I go, right, I'm done now, and then I'll go to make a cup of tea or coffee or something, and oof, feel a bit dizzy. That is probably something that will wear off the more I play VR. But I would give The Seventh Guest a thumbs up. I am going to cut it some slack because it's generally not my type of game, so I'm not going to penalise it and say, oh, I didn't enjoy it as much as I should. I did, and I think if I did enjoy the puzzle mansion click and point type games, I think this would be a cracker of a game. I don't know how big the game is. I think if it is big, then I would spend a lot of hours in that, getting into puzzles. But obviously you've seen how I play. I couldn't even get through a gate. So if anybody in the comments can let me know how to open that damn gate, then I would appreciate it. But that's my sort of glimpse at The Seventh Guest VR. I did enjoy it. It was very immersive, and it did make me want to play more VR games, which I did, and you'll see more short videos on that one. So thumbs up from me for The Seventh Guest VR for Sony PlayStation VR2.